Welcome back to the 2Dumb2Quit podcast with Jeremy McCall. Very talented, god-awful ugly.
Oh, hello, friends. Your old pal Jeremy here on the 2Dumb2Quit podcast from a bit of a shell-shocked Nashville today. Obviously, as most of you know, or maybe you've seen on the news, maybe some of you outside of the U.S. listening don't know, Nashville, we had a pretty tragic tornado plow through our city last night, and it destroyed a ton of property. Tragically, I think 22 lives is the count at this point, and slamming winds of over 160 miles an hour, making it, I think that's an F3 category tornado. Massive tornado, scary. And of course, at night, I didn't know this, but Tennessee is actually the number one state in the U.S. for tornadoes at night. The whole city's feeling it, and it reminds me a lot of the floods we had here in 2010. Our entire city was underwater, and it was just 4 weeks. 4 weeks before CMA Fest, where 500,000 people were coming to town to experience Music City and the CMA and the big concerts and all the things that go down. Well, the places where those events happened were 20 feet underwater. I mean, we had 15 feet or something in our stadium, 35 feet of water in the basements of some of these parking garages and these venues downtown, and it was a devastating, 1,000-year type of flood. And without FEMA and without outside help, neighbors just helped neighbors. People came from out of the woodwork to do what was right and help and rebuild and clean up and going neighborhood to neighborhood and bringing in supplies and food and taking people they didn't know in and donating things and volunteering and doing what was right. And 4 weeks later, this city, we were open for business with 500,000 people coming to town. I just remember the feeling of that. I remember the feeling of the city, of people taking so much pride in that we had done that. And I say we as in the city of Nashville had banded together to go down and throw down sandbags to protect the Ryman Auditorium, if it got to that point, or to sandbag businesses, or to help people get these houses that lost everything. And that was my first experience with water, flooding like that. And super scary because there's just nothing you can do with water. You can put up all the walls you want, but water finds a way in, and pretty scary experience. This town, though, when it just has a spirit to it. And I know that this happens everywhere. I know in San Francisco, when the big earthquake happened, people come together. I know in the Northwest, my hometown, my home region where I grew up, watching people come together after terrible things and fires and those types of things. The human spirit is amazing. And we forget that sometimes, and this town has a spirit to it. You can't drown it and you can't blow it out. And last night was a gut punch. It was a loss, the loss of life, loss of families and children and pets and property. People losing everything they've ever had in a moment when all they did was lay down to go to sleep, which is what we did last night. Me and my wife jumped out of bed. Both of our phones lit up at the exact same time. And, it's got that that weird emergency tone, vibrating, all that shit. And we both jumped out of bed. And, I've gotten those before on my phone, but it'll be like, there's a tornado watch or there's a tornado warning. This one did not say that. This one, when we jumped out of bed, I opened it up and it said that there was a tornado on the ground and you needed to take cover now. And, there's no time in instances like that to ask questions. So we've got 2 kids in the house. We went and snatched the kids out of bed, got them downstairs, got them to the best interior closet that we have there. It's pretty protected. We got everybody there into the closet of the house as the wind and the rain and the lightning and the hail blew down. And I can't say what the winds were outside of our door, but they were significant, and by that, I mean, they pale in comparison to what was just south of us. But very strong winds, ton of rain and hail. And thankfully for us in our neighborhood, the tornado stayed south of us. It stayed on its path, going through a town where we used to live in, marching its way through neighborhoods and businesses and in downtown. Most of the time it feels like when these storms are coming through, they seem to go around the city. Like it always seems to stay kind of south, or it'll go north. It'll threaten the city, but it seems to always kind of bend around it. And last night it did not. It hit on the north side of downtown. There's a little place called Germantown. Germantown has seen a huge explosion of growth, much like the whole city, but cool restaurants and neighborhood pubs and a lot of new condos and places to live and museums. And they've got the farmers market down there, and it's the new baseball stadiums there. It's very, very cool little part of town that they have, totally redone. And it just got hammered last night. And then I think they said that this tornado stayed on the ground for over an hour. And it marched through there, and then it went into East Nashville and destroyed so much in 5 Points and neighborhoods, and marched its way into Donaldson, where it destroyed schools, and eventually landing on Mount Juliet, where it just did a ton of damage. And I know that so many people are just kind of going through the rubble of that. And Nashville, Donaldson, Germantown, Hermitage, Mount Juliet. And it's hard to understand the wrath of nature like that. But I also look at it that it's an opportunity to talk about something that I really enjoy talking about on here. If you listen to the podcast, you know what I'm talking about, which is being present in the moment and realizing that we are never guaranteed anything. Not our house, not our car, not our school, not our tomorrow, not the next hour, not another second on this planet are we guaranteed. And while this is tragic, it's nature, and it happens. And the other thing, though, is that it causes something else. It causes people for a short period of time, everybody in our town right now, it causes everybody for a short period of time to live in the moment. It causes massive amounts of people to turn off the news that divides people into groups and teams with politics and clickbait and arguments. And it turns us all back into a group of helpers and healers and volunteers, into a group of givers and compassionate humans who are driven to help anybody that they can. And it erases the mindset of politics for a moment, even on voting day, right? It erases that mindset because in the grand scheme of it, in this town, everybody realizes that it doesn't fucking matter. And it turns us back into neighbors and mistake-making, flawed, beautiful people trying to do the best we can while we're here. And it's like Marcus Aurelius said. He said, you can leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, what you say, and how you act, what you think. So while this is an incredible trying day, a tragic day of trying to understand the loss of so many people, it's also a day to learn the lessons of nature and to remind ourselves that we are merely involved in our lives, that nature and the nature of things are totally and 100% out of our control, and to focus on what we can control, to learn the lessons in what we can't, to accept what we can't control, disregard what we can't control, to be indifferent to shit that makes no difference, and to focus all of our energy on the things that matter, the things that really, really matter. I've got a friend of ours, an acquaintance of mine for years and years. He's a great guy. Him and his family lost their house, all their possessions, their cars, everything. They've got 2 kids, and I guarantee you that looking at it today, even being totally overwhelmed by the loss of everything you've accumulated, they're hugging their babies super tight today because they know what matters. So today, that's just kind of, surviving the storm. We all have these storms, physically, metaphorically, in our lives, in our jobs, in our thoughts, when we're by ourselves, in the addictions that we have, in the habits that we're trying to break. Whatever it is, we all have these storms that are traumatic and tragic and hard, but survivable. And thinking about what things we're holding on to, what things are we stressed and worried and losing sleep over, that in this light don't matter. If you're thinking about the storm going on in your life, my job, my car payment, whatever it is, Jimmy's an asshole. You know what I mean? Whatever that thing is, it's fucking bothering you. In the light of this right now, in the light of your storm, if you take all that with the grand scheme vision above us of like what just happened here, does it matter? Does it truly matter? Don't do it to yourself. Look at all the things you have and imagine that it was all gone. And imagine how much you would give and how much you would pray and how much you would just want all that back. And then step back and realize you already have it. You have it all. We all do. And we need to continue to focus on what we have and remove the wants. We all, and it's something we all struggle with it. It's a practice. It takes time. And today in Nashville, to me, looks a little like the days following September 11th. Obviously, I'm not comparing this with September 11th. I'm just saying the spirit that is in the air is helping and love. And I've heard so many people say, man, September 14th, every house on my block had a flag on it. Everybody understood what it meant to be alive and to be an American. And it's the same feeling in Nashville today. The spirit is in the air of helping and love and what can I do for you? And it's reverberating across the city, even outside the devastated downtown, Mount Juliet, Donaldson, outside of town. I've seen it all day. I saw it at the grocery store. People are everybody's talking. I haven't seen a lot of people staring at their phones in the grocery store today or not paying attention to the person. Everybody's talking about it. How are you? Did you get through it? What part of town do you live in? And so today, it looks a little like that to me. It looks a little like all the helpers are back. And it just got me to thinking, like, how do you stay there? How do we stay in that? How do we keep ourselves in that mindset of being helpers, being people who give a shit about other people? And sadly, it's not going to last. That's the nature of it. That's the other nature of it as humans. For this moment right now, everything feels right and inspiring and amazing. And 6 months from now, we'll get comfortable again and we'll start looking at the me and everything. The ego, the needs, the wants. Me. Imagine if everybody woke up and worried about what their neighbor's well-being. Waking up in the morning going like, God, I hope, we did it this morning. Once we were okay, it was like, how are our friends Kim and Scott? How are Vanessa and Pete? How's Matt? How's Alyssa? And we just started going down the list of trying to get a hold of people. Like, are you okay? Are you all right? We're worried about you. And imagine if people woke up every day thinking about that. What kind of a view we would all enjoy from our front porch of wherever we're at. And maybe with this one down here, a handful of people will find that mindset and we'll be able to focus as another group of humans beginning to live totally in the present and to practice the kind of love that comes from knowing how small we are and that in the grand scheme of everything, that our problems don't matter and that the shit that we're worried about today, literally, they don't matter. And we have the opportunity to live the exact life we have and want right now just by changing the way we see it and approach it and interacting with it. And I was kind of inspired to write something this morning about the people, especially in this city of Nashville, the people who live here. And I wanted to share it to kind of wrap up the podcast today. I'm not going to do a long thing today. I think that this is a quick to the point thought, but I'm guessing, and I wrote this after seeing a video that someone had taken with a drone of some really devastated areas of East Nashville. And I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of tragically, beautifully produced videos and photographs from people who live here in Nashville. You're going to see pictures through professional lenses and eyes and music and content to capture what happened last night. And really, I believe it's because it's our defense mechanism. We all move here to create. We're driven to create, no matter what the circumstances, and most often because of the circumstances. We're driven to create because of our circumstances and our situations. And we're all kind of broken toys who found this place to come together and find our own circles. And it seems that while each of us alone and separate all over the country in these little towns that everybody in Nashville comes from, it feels like we're all alone. We're incomplete. And then you come here. And it's probably a lot like how actors feel when they go to Los Angeles. We find our people. We find our groups here, our circles, and it heals us. It completes the pieces that make the engine work. You find all these different pieces that come together and complete the puzzle. And this is the creative's way of coping, which is showing it through the eyes of their art. And I saw somebody today, say, I just can't watch this disaster porn. It's just people, just pictures of devastation, and it's just disaster porn. It's not disaster porn. It's tragic, beauty through the eyes and the tears and the prayers for the families who lost it all, or for the people who lost the people that they loved the most. But it's through their art that they're coping with it, their defense mechanism. And it also lets us know that we're each alive and that we're okay, and together through all the different ways we create. It doesn't matter. Martial arts, tattoo artists, musicians, videographers, painters, the people who create art out of rubble. There's going to be people that create frames out of these bricks and these buildings that are now laying scattered through the ground through the skilled hands of people figuring out how to dig out of the chaos. And through that, it lets all of us know we're going to be okay. And we're Nashville because without each other, we're not complete. And it's like that in every city. We find our groups, our people. We find the people that complete us, that make the engine run, that when you're apart from them and you're in different groups and different cliques and different places, it doesn't feel right. You don't feel like you. And it's still so early, and so many have lost everything. And through that, so many people will realize what we all have, what we all love, and that none of it has to do with the bullshit outside of our city. So wherever you're at today, go help, go create, help your neighbors. And again, this continues to show everybody who we really are, which is we're just flawed humans who are put here to try to love each other and help each other through shit that's tough. It reminds, there's a Seneca quote that I like too, Seneca the Younger. It's a Stoic quote, but he says, in times of security, that the spirit should be preparing itself always for difficult times. While fortune is bestowing its favors, it is then the time to be strengthened against the rebuffs, because we're always going to fall into this. This is the nature of our world. It's the nature of our society. And we all have a chance to take something away from this, which is to live in the moment, to love everybody as much as you can, to worry about your friends and neighbors, and not in a worry way where it's causing stress and anxiety, but to help each other out. Hey man, is there anything I can help you with? Is there anything I can give? We all have pieces that other people need. And to remember to remove the stress and worry from your life by living in the moment. Realize our mortality, embrace it as an opportunity to make your life and the lives of the people around you better. And I didn't mean to come off preachy on this thing, but I was just super inspired by watching what's happening in my city right now. So big prayers to everybody here in the city of Nashville, and to all of you out there who continue to listen to the podcast. I hope you're catching something from it. I hope you're able to find some stuff in here for you to put in your pocket, to give you a smile, to help make your day a little better. I'm proud to do it. It's the 2Dumb2Quit podcast. Thanks for popping in with me. Make sure you check it out on jeremymccomb.com. We've got a bunch of new tour dates, and I hope to see everybody on the road. And keep the city in your thoughts and prayers over the next coming weeks. There's going to be a lot of people going through a lot, and I hope that people just remember to try to find the lessons and the perspective and the acceptance of things that we cannot change, and that the city will be back and rebuild stronger than it was to begin with. It's the 2Dumb2Quit podcast. Have a great week, friends.